Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Be Innawoods off trail, but in territory not too far from my house that I'm very familiar with. Be by myself, but walking my 2 dogs. Leisurely Sunday evening, getting dark soon. Suddenly dark shape off in the distance. Both dogs break into a run in pursuit. Turns out to be a black bear which zips up a tree at top speed as soon as my dogs get close. Have a good laugh because both my dogs combined are only about 1/5 of the bear's weight. Dogs are barking at the bottom of the tree. Bear is bleating up in the lower branches. I keep laughing, take off my backpack to get out my camera. Suddenly notice that dogs have stopped barking. Look up and see them frozen in place under the tree, ears down, tails straight and still. Bear's bleating suddenly gets more frantic. It climbs a dozen feet higher up into the tree. Call dogs. They slink over to me. Dogs are high-pitched whining and giving me the look they give me when they're inside the house but need to go outside. What the fuck is going on? Treed bear still going apeshit. Decide to fuck off ASAP. Put my pack back on and head back the way I came. Following a dry creek bed with a steep hill to one side. Suddenly, hear a huge crashing sound through the brush. Look up, and there is a gigantic animal, brown bear, bounding uphill and away from me. Before I can figure out what happened, it's gone behind a dense thicket of trees and bushes. Freaked out, but find some comfort in the fact that it was running away from me. Collect myself and continue on down the path through the creek bed again. Can't shake the feeling that I'm being watched. Before I've walked for another 5 minutes, a second huge animal makes a huge noise uphill. Branches cracking, leaves rustling. I'm amazed I can't see the forest being torn apart from where I'm standing. It's so close, but all I see is the underbrush, thick but undisturbed as before. This time it isn't running away, but just making a lot of noise just out of sight. Suddenly notice dogs are nowhere in sight. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. I can't remember the last time I saw them, since they were slinking along so quietly in my shadow. Frozen in place, can't move. Try to call out to dogs. Voice comes out as a whisper and dies. Can't call dogs back. It's now almost dusk, and without a flashlight I won't be able to find my way back to my car unless I leave the area now. Still a lot of noise just out of sight in the underbrush uphill. Thinking that the dogs must have gone to investigate this, I tactically double back and approach it from an angle. Can't leave without my dogs. As I get closer, I notice patches of brownish liquid, goo, on the forest floor. The light is fading fast. I've walked at least 50 yards uphill toward the sounds by now, but still can't see shit. I'm sure that I'm being watched. Whatever is making all the noise sounds like an elephant having a seizure. I'm shitting my pants by the time I start smelling it. It's like 20 years worth of deer piss and rotten meat, and it's suddenly overwhelming. I suppress the urge to throw up and have to steady myself against a tree. Cold sweat all over. My shirt is now wet. Silence. My entire body is covered in goosebumps by now. I don't know how I know it, but something massively bigger than anything that should be in these woods is standing right behind me, looking down at me. Every hair on my body is standing on end. At some point I start running, can't look back, I just run and I start screaming. It is now completely dark. The only noise in the woods is my footsteps. No owls hooting, no crickets chirping, no coyotes baying. just the soil crunching underfoot. At some point that I can't remember, I left the creek bed. Have literally no idea if I'm headed in the right direction. Cross creeks that shouldn't be there. Run around cliffs that I don't remember. Suddenly the flash of moonlight off my car windshield. Double my speed, get keys out of pocket. Dogs are at the car, hiding under the bumper. Open the side door. They launch themselves inside. I climb in, start it, and peel out onto the main road, not slowing down until I'm safely in my garage. Even in my garage, we all just sit there in the car with the garage closed and the car doors locked. Neither me nor the dogs make a sound. Eventually make our way inside. Dogs won't go outside alone for 2 days.
Solo hiking or camping trip in the Ozarks. First night there's a big storm. Camping on a treeless mountaintop. If anyone is familiar with Goggins Mountain, you know what I'm talking about. Can see storm rolling in the whole evening. Decide to get the fuck off the top of the mountain. There can be lots of tornadoes in this area when there's a big enough storm. Car is only 5.5 miles away, so I decided to pack it in and end the trip early. The storm hits after about a mile of hiking, just as it's getting dark. The headlamp is running low on batteries, and decides to die at this moment. Nighttime in the Ozarks under a massive storm is entirely dark. Lots of lightning, but it's not frequent enough to illuminate the path. Come up with Plan C. Decide to make camp right there on the side of the trail. Surprising myself, I managed to unpack my tent without getting my sleeping bag wet and set it up in the dark. Pass night in relative comfort. Get a little wet from water flowing over the ground seeping into the tent. Don't get a lot of sleep, am awake when the first light of dawn brightens up the forest. Next morning, the trail and the forest floor around my campsite is pure mud. Looking at my footprints on the trail, and realize the tread is different. Somebody walked down the trail while I was sleeping, and passed within inches of my tent without me hearing them. The freakiest part is the footprint circled around my tent, and stopped at the door, as though to look inside.
This is a story of my first hunting trip with my dad. Since it was out of season, I guess I should call it my first poaching trip. First, I'm from northern Minnesota. We don't have huge mountains, but we have tallish hills. Our woods are dense, and there are a lot of lakes. Be about 18, just graduated high school. On first hunting trip with Dad. Don't know what I'm doing, so just follow my dad. We hike Innawoods about 10 or 15 miles. We make camp by a big sinkhole. Dad says there's a lot of game trails around here. Deer all funnel in because there's water at the bottom, climb down for a drink, and then make a lot of noise climbing out. We make camp about a half mile away and wait until about midnight to move back to the sinkhole. Brought a huge 50,000 lumens spotlight. I'm on spotlight duty. Dad is on rifle duty. Hear the twig snap. We look at each other and get ready to move into position. Before we split, Dad grabs my shirt. It is at this moment that he informs me that we're not out there to hunt deer. Turn on the spotlight and point it toward the snapped twig I just heard. At first, only see trees. Then realize that I'm looking at a mix of trees and very hairy, tree-colored, shaggy legs. Turn the spotlight upward. 30 or 40 feet above us are two gigantic faces. Big green eyes the size of dinner plates stare back at us. Gaping mouths that could probably swallow us both without chewing. Empty out my breakfast, lunch, and dinner into my pants. Suddenly hear pop, 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 as Dad mag dumps into the nearest one. Crappy spotlight is getting dimmer, and I realize that 5 minutes have passed. The light flickers a few times. Shake the flashlight. The entire thing goes out. When I get it back on, my dad grabs me by the collar and is dragging me away. We head back for our campsite. I become acutely aware that what I'd previously thought to be the wind rustling the trees almost directly above us was accompanied by a pair of heavy footfalls behind us. We pick up the pace and are sprinting as fast as we can without spraining our ankles. Have no idea what is going on. We seem to have lost the legs. Get back to camp, grab a few essentials. Dad has his pack slung over one shoulder and is frantically rifling through the contents. He finds what he was looking for, a full magazine, loads up his gun, and tells me on the count of 3 to point the spotlight, which has started to work again. 1, 2, 3. We both turn around, and I turn on the spotlight. 2 long, hairy legs leading up into the treetops are inelegantly stumbling toward us, closing in fast. 20 feet, 15 feet, 12. Dad aims up where he guesses the thing's head is and dumps another 15 rounds into it. The thing lets out a high-pitched scream, and suddenly its legs just stop all motion. Somehow all the hair hanging off them now doesn't look like hair anymore. It looks like bark. Dad is pulling me to go. I can't stop looking at the 2 new trees that are now indistinguishable from any other trees. Shine spotlight upwards, but don't see any green eyes. Don't see any gaping mouth. We hightail out of there. Dad won't talk about what the hell happened, and nobody believes me when I try to tell them. To this day, he still pretends like it never happened.
I have a short one that is relevant to a lot of the stories which are going around. Be Butter Bar Platoon Leader for Cav Platoon. Be at the National Training Center at Fort Irwin. Be in the woods for Fire Training Exercise, FTX. The FTX is about 4 days long and involves a lot of land nav shit, patrol bases, etc. So far, has been pretty boring. At about 1800 on the 3rd day, get a call from the company commander over the radio. He's pulling the platoon leaders in to talk to us. Show up at company TOC, basically CO's truck, a camp stove, and pallets of MREs. Wait forever for the company commander to show up. Finally shows up at 8:45 and tells me and the rest of the platoon leaders that there's been reports of a really big, aggressive bear that's been following groups around at the NTC. If it shows up, fire shots to scare it off, don't bury your trash, etc. I don't think much of it at the time. Just think we all got our time wasted for no reason. Sends us off to head back to our platoons on our own. Cloudy, so it's pretty much pitch dark out. Kind of creepy navigating back by myself, but I'm in full warrior mode, so I do it without thinking. Opposing force patrolling, so I leave my flashlight off. Following the trail back to the rendezvous point with my platoon, where they were supposed to have set up a patrol base, see headlights off in the distance on the trail, get off the trail and hide. Watch the Humvee pass by. Looks just like range control or something. See its lights fall on something huge across the road for an instant, before the Humvee rolls on. Tactically shit pants for a second. Sit in utter silence for a few minutes thinking it might be a bear. Nothing. No movement. After a while, I realize I'm probably just being dumb and get back on the trail to keep going. Nothing more out of the ordinary happens. Get to around the point where the patrol base should be, and notice a chain of chem lights heading off into the woods as well as a parked Humvee. Head into the woods following the chem light chain. Get to the end of the chem light chain. Someone calls out the challenge. When you set up a patrol base, if you see someone, you call out a challenge phrase and they answer back with the password, it means they're friendly. I don't remember what the password was, so I just say, "It's fucking Lieutenant Anon." Guy just goes, "Hey, whatever," and lets me by. I get to the center of the patrol base and link up with my platoon sergeant. About an hour goes by. I feel weirdly tense. I can't sleep. Suddenly shouting from one side of the patrol base, immediately followed by hail of blank fire as the whole squad lights up an area. Grab my rifle and run over, shouting for a status from the squad leader. No response yet. No one is moving or talking. Run up to one of the sentries and ask what the hell happened. He said he saw someone moving about 10 meters away from their position and called out the challenge. He said they heard someone say, "It's fucking Lieutenant Anon," so they were going to let him through. Guy says the thing suddenly got close and he had this feeling something was wrong. Sees that this person walking into the base has long hair and just starts shooting. Whole squad started shooting. If you've ever shot blanks at night, you know it blinds you for a few seconds during and afterward. When the guy can see, again, the guy he saw was gone. What the fuck for a bit, but say okay, and head back to the center of the patrol base. Much later. Talk to the platoon sergeant and RTO, make sure they're okay, and go to sleep for a bit. Woken up by another hail of blank fire. Figure this time we're getting probed by the opposing force. Grab a rifle and run to the side of the patrol base where the fire came from. I get there, almost no one moving or talking. Ask what the fuck is going on. The team leader says he saw someone a little bit down the hill they were watching, so he issued a challenge. Guy calls back, "It's fucking Lieutenant Anon," while he's walking toward the patrol base. The team leader asks what the hell I'm doing out there. Voice calls back, "It's fucking Lieutenant Anon." Team leader, what the fucks? The team leader says something way taller than a normal man comes out of the brush. He tactically shits his pants and just starts lighting it up. Think this is kind of fucked up for opposing force to be playing head games with us like this. I go back to the center of the patrol base and try to get to sleep again.
UK here. Me and 3 friends camping in North England, a small forest surrounded by farmland. Still a good 45-minute walk from the nearest road, which although is nothing to you. Americans, it's still pretty secluded. We're camping, it's around 5 p.m. in summer, so it's not dark for another few hours. Decided to leave our campsite and go for a walk. Only armed with a couple of knives, because no guns UK law. We happen upon a broken down barn house, overgrown with trees, has no roof and has clearly been abandoned for years. We explore, begin to notice a bit of a weird feeling, almost like we're being watched or followed. All of us are tense. I notice that the trees surrounding the barn house have carvings in them. At first, I thought the typical XX loves, XX forever bullshit. But on closer inspection, it's weird writing. Isn't in a language I recognize, nor do I recognize half the letters. Begin to get a little freaked out and we start to make our way back to the camp. On the way out, we notice that there are a bunch of things hanging from the trees, quite high up, that we didn't notice before. Pentagrams and other shapes tied together with string made out of sticks and bits of metal. We're all shit scared, not even trying to hide it. We start to power walk as by now it's starting to get dark. Get back to camp and nothing happens. When we wake up the next morning, we all pack up and go home. When I have a shower and stuff, I notice I have thin scratches laced over my back. Nothing sore and really thin. Nothing I could have done on a branch by mistake either, because I had my jacket on throughout the night. Turns out my friends had identical scratches covering their backs too. When we told our other friends, it turned out that area was notorious for Satanist festivals. Or some shit.
Speaking of finding animal carcasses in the woods, I have a story about that. Be fly fishing around an alpine lake in a fairly remote part of my local range. The only people I've seen in the past 2 days were horsepackers back on the main trail. Exchanged pleasantries with them, noticed they all seemed to have rifles. Passed it off as horsepackers just being horsepackers. They always overpack. Have no guns myself, just a backpack, camping gear, and fly fishing gear. Pulling in a lot of large fish today, the weather is nice. Thinking that I'll stay at this lake another night. Going around the shore, I come to a cove and almost step on a dead moose. Jump backwards about 10 feet because holy shit, dead moose. Creep a little closer because cool man, it's a dead moose. Notice that Bullwinkle didn't die of natural causes. Something has been eating him. On closer inspection, his entire midsection is hollowed out. Scratch that, this moose looks like a victim of some top predator from the Serengeti. Notice fresh blood coating the soil. At this point, my brain starts doing what it should have done at first sight of the partially eaten animal. My eyes scan the surrounding trees. Did I scare somebody off when I came close? Am I being watched right now? Look down at the soil around the carcass, hoping to find cougar tracks, but most of the dirt is lumpy and dry. All I can see are what look like bird tracks scratched into the muddiest, smoothest patches of the soil. Hundreds and hundreds of bird tracks. The closer I look, the clearer the story becomes. I was looking for bear tracks or mountain lion tracks. All I can see are bird tracks. My travel to the lake was cross-country, and I left by a cross-country route in the opposite direction. Concluding that bears or mountain lions must have killed the moose, and crows had just moved in afterwards, I rest easy on a campsite away from water, halfway between that lake and the next lake I will fish. Next day, I reached a lake several times bigger than the previous day's lake. Fishing is average. It's cloudy and windy, and I lose interest in fishing. Wander off into the brush, but quickly come upon another carcass, this time of a fairly large bear. Oddly, its torso is untouched, but its legs are all chewed down to the bones. Bear looks like it walked on stilts. What the fucking hard. Acutely aware how alone I am in the woods right now. Out of nowhere, noises in the near distance. Sounds like weird babbling and footsteps. Can see the tops of half a dozen light brown organic things poking up over the brush. Have no clue what I'm looking at. Hide and tactically hold my breath, try not to make any sound or movement. My pack and clothes are all natural colors, so I think I'm doing a pretty good job. Do have bear mace. Get that ready to deploy it at any second. The light brown things turn out to be the tops of people's cowboy-hatted heads on their horses. It's one of the groups of horsepackers I saw a few days ago. Get to chatting and mention the bear on stilts. A few of them are very interested and want to see it. I guided a few of them back to where I thought it was, but can't find it. Must not have been paying attention when I wandered away from it. Then one of the guys takes me aside and explains what they saw over the past few days. Dead animals everywhere. Most were deer, a few moose. Some looked like they were eaten by mountain lions. Others looked like they'd been mutilated for fun. None of these people were sure what was killing these animals. Other animals or a depraved human. They suspected it was some person doing it but weren't able to find gunshot or arrow wounds on any of the animals. Though I've been on dozens of week-long Innawoods trips in my life, and though I've always considered myself a reliable woodsman, and though I have a lot of pride for my independence, at that moment I was scared for my life. At that moment, I just wanted to plead to the horsepackers to let me into their group and let's get out of there. The way the conversation was going, I was sure they'd say okay if I asked, but somehow my pride kept me from asking. I came into the woods alone, and I was determined to leave the woods alone. Besides, the horsepackers were probably exaggerating anyway, or so I figured at the time. Over the next several days, as I gradually made my way back to the trailhead, I saw no less than 63 dead deer, 13 dead moose, 2 dead bears, and 1 dead coyote, or wolf. I traveled cross-country and in a different direction than the horsepackers came in from. Not even on a trail. No way it could have been done by a single deranged poacher. One of the moose was hanging limply over a thick tree branch. All of those carcasses were fresh, sometimes still bleeding out. Finally got to the car and got the hell out of there, too scared to go back.
This is a story of a guy I met in the woods and a few friends of his. I can't guarantee anything as to its accuracy. I'm just going on what he told me to be true. Befriend and a couple buddies. Head out on the Highline Trail in Utah's Wintus Mountains for a week. Have enough cars in the group so as to be able to park one at each end of the trail. Everybody is excited to be out in the mountains together. Not long before weird things start happening. It starts out with things like hiking poles and backpacks. End up at opposite sides of camp to where people left them. Everybody's boots are upside down in the morning. They hang their food bags on certain trees at night, but find them tied to certain other trees in the mornings. Most people brush this stuff off as animals, or someone in their group getting a midnight snack. Weirder and weirder shit starts happening. My friend wakes up to find muddy handprints all over the inside of his tent fly, in between the inner tent and the fly. As they're hiking, they lose the trail only to backtrack and find large, freshly cut branches and clever disguise laid over the actual trail. People are starting to think that they're being stalked. What really starts freaking people out is waking up to find their tents rearranged in their campsite. The stakes of the non-freestanding tents look like they're all undisturbed. But the tents are all in different places around camp. Nobody has any idea how their tents could have been all moved around, and in some cases apparently broken down and repitched, with none of them noticing or waking up. Next night, they decide to keep watch in 3-hour shifts. Everyone is on edge. Watchmen get thick branches, tie knives to the ends, and arm themselves with bear mace. The first half of the night, nothing happens. Then it's my friend's turn to stand watch. He's got his camera because he figures the flash can illuminate wide areas if something comes close. It doesn't matter, though, because he falls asleep just before dawn and nothing happens that night. The next morning, somebody asks him why he was taking pictures last night. My friend freezes, slowly takes out his camera, checks the memory. There's pictures of everybody in the group sleeping, including himself. My friend is losing his shit right now. They're about 40 miles from their car, though technically only about 18 miles from the nearest trailhead if they were to hitchhike out. All pretty much guaranteed to spend at least one more night camping out. He decides to keep quiet about the pictures and they continue on their trip. Over the last few days of the trip, things get stranger and stranger. It doesn't matter who they post to nighttime lookout duty, the watchman always falls asleep. The next morning, everybody wakes up somehow on the ground outside of their tents. The following morning, they all wake up in a strange meadow, out of sight of their campsite entirely. It's at this point that my friend decides to share what he saw on his camera 2 days earlier. They all huddle around his camera, and to their horror, they discover new pictures, some of them taken very close to people's faces. The last picture is a picture of my friend's sleeping face, but there's a bone-white hand cupping his chin. By following a creek a little ways upstream, they are able to find the trail, which someone recognizes as being not too far from their campsite. They only have 12 miles to go before they get to the trailhead, but it's early afternoon, and they're doubtful they can finish their trip that same day. Reaching their campsite, they find all of their gear shredded in pieces. Apparently, only one backpack was unharmed. They find where their food had been hung, scooped up as much as they could save from where it was scattered on the ground. Somebody luckily finds the car keys, and they run the rest of the way back, getting lost several times but reaching the trailhead before dark. When they finally get to the trailhead, everyone is too exhausted to make camp or do any driving, so all 6 of them just pile into the car, lock the doors, and fall asleep. A knock on their window wakes them up early the next morning. It's the police, and the cop wants to know what these people are doing in a closed area. As they tried to explain the situation, the cop tells his own story. The entire entrance to the forest had been closed for days due to abnormal animal activity. My friend is getting suspicious why the police are handling the closure and not the forest rangers. He asks as much. Cop goes quiet and looks away. Very awkward moment, which is interrupted by one of my friend's hiking companions in the car. He notices that there are about a dozen other cars in the parking lot, but they all have flat tires. Everybody gets out of the car, and they realize that their own tires are flat. At this point, the cop comes clean and explains that there's actually a manhunt in the area, but they're not sure what exactly they're dealing with. Lots of dead hikers turned up earlier in the week. My friend remembers the strange photos and gets out his camera to show the cop. The cop's face suddenly goes blank, and he hands back the camera. It's a photo that was taken inside the car the night before. Partially visible in the last photo, which is of my friend's sleeping face, like some kind of party photo where the taker holds the camera at arm's length to get himself in, is the right half of a pure white face with black holes for eyes and a mouth full of sharpened animal-like teeth.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.